In this video, we explore China, a country with a massive population, a rich ancient history, and traditions that might seem unusual to Europeans. Prince Philip, the late husband of Queen Elizabeth II, once remarked that the Chinese would eat anything with 4 legs, except a chair, anything with wings, except an airplane, or anything that swims, except a submarine. But is it really true that the Chinese consume insects and other exotic foods? China indeed has a long-standing tradition of incorporating insects into its cuisine. Across various provinces, edible insects like crickets, larvae, scorpions, and even cockroaches are considered delicacies. These dishes have become common in major cities like Beijing. However, despite the presence of exotic foods like bat meat or even tiger meat in niche markets, these are neither mainstream nor widely accepted. Such items are usually targeted at wealthy elites or curious tourists. As the global population is expected to reach around 11 billion by the end of this century, scientists believe that alternative protein sources will be necessary. In South Korea, researchers have developed meat substitutes using sugars and proteins extracted from mealworms. In the near future, such food might become more common in our diets. Historically, nomadic tribes had a profound influence on China. The Great Wall was originally built to defend against them. When that didn't work, the Chinese tried hiring rival tribes to defend the borders or relocating nomads into Chinese territory, strategies that often failed. In the 8th century, a nomadic group called the Tanguts not only invaded China but also founded a ruling dynasty. Later, in the 13th century, Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, integrated China into the Mongol Empire. Even after the invention of gunpowder, nomads remained a threat. In the 17th century, the Manchus seized power and founded a new dynasty. How did these relatively primitive tribes conquer a vast and advanced civilization? China was weakened by internal political crises and rampant corruption. Desperate, the ruling Ming dynasty sought help from the Manchus, who eventually took control and captured Beijing in 1629. Under Manchu rule, China expanded to include Mongolia and parts of Central Asia. However, the dynasty also isolated China from the outside world. Foreigners were expelled, Christian missions were banned, and large ocean-going ships were prohibited. A 1,000-kilometer barrier was even built to prevent contact with European traders. Chinese citizens were told the outside world was full of barbarians inferior to Chinese civilization. But when British forces used military power to open Chinese markets, it led to the First Opium War, a humiliating defeat for China. The British gained control over Hong Kong and 5 major ports. They also flooded China with opium. Interestingly, the Manchu elite were well aware of their true global standing and kept diplomatic communications hidden from Chinese officials. Though Chinese history is often said to span over 7,000 years, some modern Chinese historians have questioned this timeline. One such scholar, Gu Jiagang, argued that many early rulers, like Yu the Great, were mythical and served political purposes rather than historical truth. Many ancient dynasties appear only in much later records, suggesting a deliberate effort to exaggerate China's historical depth. One of the most well-known aspects of ancient China is the Silk Road, a trade route linking Asia to Europe. It continued to operate well into the Middle Ages and even the 19th century. British businessman William Knox Darcy used part of this route to transport oil from Persia. In modern times, China's leader Xi Jinping launched the One Belt, One Road initiative, a vast infrastructure plan connecting Asia, Africa, and Europe through railways, ports, and pipelines. In the mid-20th century, China experienced severe hardship. A catastrophic famine between 1959 and 1961 led to the deaths of tens of millions. But in the late 1970s, Deng Xiaoping introduced reforms that opened China to foreign investment. Western companies set up factories in China to take advantage of cheap labor and tax incentives. Diplomatic ties with the United States were restored in 1979, accelerating this transformation. However, times have changed. Labor costs in China have surged, and production is no longer as cheap. Companies like New Balance have moved factories to countries like Indonesia. High electricity prices and rising wages have made manufacturing in China less attractive. In fact, between 2011 and 2012, over 100 factories relocated from China, while far fewer moved from countries like India or Brazil. Interestingly, it's not just foreign businesses leaving, wealthy Chinese are emigrating too. In 2008, 360 Chinese millionaires moved to the US. By 2012, the number had grown to over 6,000. While China has accumulated enormous foreign reserves and continues to buy up resources globally, internal challenges remain. To curb overpopulation, the government introduced the one-child policy, which, though effective in slowing growth, led to significant social problems. Forced abortions, sterilizations, and a skewed gender ratio were among the consequences. In 2013, the policy was relaxed to allow 2 children in certain cases. However, even with the change, birth rates remained low due to the high cost of raising children. Demographic challenges loom large. With over 110 million elderly people today and projections of 210 million by 2030, China's workforce is rapidly shrinking. Some experts believe even the two-child policy won't prevent a future labor crisis. China, once known for cheap knockoffs, has taken imitation to another level, replicating entire cities. Near Shanghai lies a replica of Paris called Tianducheng, complete with a miniature Eiffel Tower and Parisian-style buildings. Despite being designed for 10,000 residents, only a few thousand live there due to high housing prices. A similar town, Anting, mimics Bavarian architecture but also remains largely uninhabited. Meanwhile, Japan is often forgotten for having borrowed heavily from ancient China, its writing system, religion, bureaucracy, and more. One name that stands out in Chinese philosophy is Confucius. Though often the subject of modern memes, his ideas shaped the Chinese state. He believed that social status should be based on education and moral character rather than birthright. His philosophy inspired civil service systems that still exist today. Many top Chinese officials, including Deng Xiaoping, studied abroad in France and the Soviet Union. The influence of Confucian values is also evident in the intense focus on exams across Asia, especially in South Korea. During the 7th century Civil War, a small Chinese garrison used a clever trick to repel a 40,000-strong rebel force. Running out of arrows, they crafted scarecrows, dressed them in armor, and raised them over the walls at night. Thinking it was another attack, the rebels wasted their arrows. Eventually, real soldiers replaced the decoys, launching a devastating counterattack that forced the rebels to retreat. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.